Think about humanity's primary survival tools. Fire gave us warmth. The wheel gave us trade and travel. Because these inventions are physical, we instinctively understand their utility. We tend to put money in that exact same category, assuming it is a fixed reality that behaves by natural laws. To see if that assumption holds up, look at what happens when you take $1,000 and park it in a 10-year U.S. Treasury bond, one of the safest financial vehicles on Earth. By the time that bond expires, your investment will have earned you just $12.30 in interest. But look at the net results when we factor in a target inflation rate of 2% a year. This return doesn't keep pace with the rising cost of living. By following the safe path, the actual buying power of your original investment drops well below where you started. If you log into your bank app, the numbers on your screen haven't changed. But the reality is that the purchasing power of that money is evaporating every single day. You can see the symptoms of this wealth bleed in the rising costs of raw materials. Lumber, for instance, has seen its price triple in an incredibly short window of time. These price spikes are driven by a deliberate injection of new currency into the economy, rather than a sudden shortage of the physical material itself. To keep the global economy from stalling during recent shutdowns, the United States printed money at a record-breaking pace. Roughly 40% of all U.S. dollars in existence today were created in just an 18-month span. This creates a unique advantage for the state. If the government wants to buy a multi-million-dollar jet, they can simply authorize the creation of that capital to pay for it. The ability to generate capital on this scale at will implies that our modern currency functions very differently than the tangible tools we rely on for survival. To understand this shift, we have to look back at how trade began. Early humans relied on the barter system, directly exchanging goods and services for other goods and services in return. This system created constant friction. If you spent weeks building a tent but only needed a pair of shoes, you had to find a shoemaker who happened to need a home at that exact moment. It was a game of waiting for a double coincidence of wants. Humanity's first solution was to use universally desired placeholder objects to store value. You could trade your goods for a pile of cowrie shells, and then use those shells later to get exactly what you needed. Around 770 BC, China refined this by creating the first metal coins. They cast miniature versions of the tools that were once used as currency in bronze, making them easy to carry and trade. At this stage, money was not an illusion. A coin's value was strictly guaranteed by the physical weight and scarcity of the bronze or gold it was made from. The turning point arrived around 600 BC, when rulers realized they could artificially multiply their power by manipulating the currency. Kings began melting down their coins, mixing the expensive gold with cheaper metals. They stamped their own image onto the face of these coins and decreed they were still worth the original amount, regardless of the metal content. This was the birth of fiat, a Latin word meaning "let it be done." The currency held value simply because the government declared it to be legal tender. Today, this practice has moved from coin shaving to central banking. When modern governments face trillion-dollar national debts, they turn to the Federal Reserve. The mechanism is stealthy. The government creates new money out of thin air to buy back bonds from the nation's largest financial institutions. This process acts as a hidden wealth transfer. Every new dollar printed through this system steals value directly from the older dollars sitting in the public's bank accounts. The ultimate result of the fiat system is a global economy where perceived success is often a byproduct of smoke and mirrors. Priced in US dollars since 1997, the Dow Jones shows a vertical trajectory, suggesting extraordinary wealth generation. But when priced in gold, this perceived growth vanishes. The market's actual value has remained almost entirely flat. While these assets appear to be appreciating, the ruler we use to measure them is simply getting shorter. The dollar value rises because the dollar itself is weakening, effectively hiding the stagnation of the actual market. You cannot win the game by hoarding a currency that is mathematically designed to lose value. Financial survival requires seeing through the mirage and moving your wealth into real, appreciating assets.